There's one lesson about money that schools rarely teach. Many parents were never taught themselves, and most people don't discover until it's too late. Yet understanding this single idea can completely change the way you think about earning, spending, investing, and building wealth. Today, we're going to uncover that lesson by exploring one of the most influential personal finance books ever written, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. This isn't just a summary of the book. It's a journey through the ideas that have influenced millions of people around the world. Whether you agree with every opinion in the book or not, it challenges many of the assumptions people have about money, success, and financial freedom. So, let's begin. Imagine two children growing up in the same neighborhood. They attend the same schools, play the same games, dream about the same future, but they receive completely different advice about money. One is told, study hard, get a good job, work for 40 years, save money, and you'll have a secure life. The other hears something entirely different. Learn how money works. Buy assets. Build businesses. Let money work for you. Years later, both children become adults. One spends life chasing the next paycheck. The other spends life building financial freedom. That simple contrast is the foundation of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Robert Kiyosaki explains that he was fortunate enough to learn from two father figures. His biological father, whom he calls the poor dad, was highly educated, respected in society, and held an important government position. He believed education was the safest path to success. His advice was familiar. Study hard, get good grades, find a secure job, work hard, save money, avoid risk, retire comfortably. Most of us have heard similar advice throughout our lives. The second father figure was the father of his best friend Mike, whom Kiyosaki calls the Rich Dad. Rich Dad had far less formal education, but he understood business, investing, and money. He believed education was important, but incomplete. He often told Robert, the poor and the middle class work for money. The rich have money work for them. That single sentence became the foundation of everything Robert would later write. Notice something important. The book does not argue that school is useless. It argues that schools are designed primarily to prepare people for careers, not necessarily to teach personal finance. Most people learn mathematics, science, history, and literature. But very few learn how taxes work, how businesses operate, how investments generate income, or why some people become financially independent while others remain dependent on a salary throughout their lives. Rich Dad believed that missing education creates one of the biggest financial problems in modern society. He didn't want Robert to memorize financial theories. He wanted him to experience them. One day, when Robert was only 9 years old, he asked a simple question. How do I become rich? Instead of giving him the answer, Rich Dad decided to teach him through experience. Robert and Mike began working in one of Rich Dad's small grocery stores. They cleaned shelves, organized products, swept the floor, and for all that work, they earned only 10 cents an hour. After several weeks, Robert became frustrated. He felt exploited. He believed Rich Dad was being unfair. Eventually, he decided to quit. But when he confronted Rich Dad expecting an apology or a salary increase, Rich Dad smiled and asked him a question. Isn't this exactly what happens to most adults? People become unhappy with their jobs. They complain about their salary. They wait for someone else to pay them more. But they rarely ask a different question. How can I stop depending completely on a paycheck? According to Rich Dad, This is where the rat race begins. Think about the life many people live. They finish school, get a job, receive a salary, buy a car, take a mortgage, pay utility bills, raise children, receive another salary, pay more bills, then repeat the cycle every month for decades. If their expenses increase, they work harder. If inflation rises, they work harder. If they lose their job, their income disappears overnight. Rich Dad never criticized hard work. He criticized dependence. He believed financial freedom begins the moment your income no longer depends entirely on your time. That idea completely changed Robert's perspective. Instead of asking, "How much does this job pay?" he began asking, "What can this opportunity teach me?" And, "How can I eventually create income that doesn't require my constant presence?" Soon after, Rich Dad gave Robert another lesson. Every week, customers left comic books behind in the grocery store. Normally, those comics were thrown away. Instead, Rich Dad gave them to Robert and Mike. The boys rented an unused room, organized the comics into a small library, and charged neighborhood children a small fee to spend the afternoon reading. They even hired another child to supervise the library. For the first time, Robert earned money while someone else did the work. The amount of money wasn't important. The lesson was, Rich Dad wanted him to understand the difference between working for money and creating a system that produces money. That simple comic book library became Robert's first experience with passive income. It taught him that wealth isn't always created by working longer hours. Sometimes it's created by building something that continues generating value after the work has already been done. This naturally leads to the lesson that made Rich Dad, Poor Dad famous around the world. The difference between assets and liabilities. Rich Dad believed that if people truly understood this one concept, many of their financial problems would disappear. His definitions were remarkably simple. An asset puts money into your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. That's it. No complicated accounting terms, no financial jargon. Just one simple question. Does this purchase increase your cash flow or reduce it? Many people proudly say, "My house is my biggest asset." Kiyosaki asks them to think more carefully. If a house requires mortgage payments, maintenance costs, insurance, repairs, taxes and utilities, then every month it demands money from its owner. Whether or not the property eventually increases in value, it still affects monthly cash flow. His point isn't that owning a home is always a bad decision. His point is that many people confuse ownership with wealth. According to Rich Dad, true wealth comes from assets that consistently produce income. These might include rental properties, dividend-paying investments, businesses, royalties, intellectual property, or even digital products that continue generating income long after they've been created. The wealthy, according to the book, focus first on acquiring these assets. Only later do they allow the income from those assets to pay for luxuries. Most people reverse the process. They buy luxuries first, then spend years working to pay for them. This idea also explains why two people earning exactly the same salary can end up living completely different financial lives. One spends almost everything they earn. The other quietly purchases one income-producing asset after another. For several years, their lifestyles may look almost identical. But after a decade, the difference becomes impossible to ignore. One person's expenses continue growing. The other person's assets continue growing. and eventually those assets begin paying for the lifestyle the salary once supported. That is why Rich Dad repeatedly tells Robert, "Don't work for luxuries. Build assets first, and let your assets buy your luxuries later." At first glance, this sounds like ordinary financial advice. In reality, it completely changes the order in which people make financial decisions. Instead of asking, "Can I afford this?" Rich Dad encourages readers to ask, "Will this purchase make me financially stronger or financially weaker?" That single habit can influence every financial decision for the rest of your life. As Robert grew older, he realized something even more important. Building wealth isn't only about money. It's about thinking differently. It's about recognizing opportunities that other people overlook. It's about making decisions based on long-term freedom rather than short-term satisfaction. And perhaps most importantly, it requires understanding that your profession and your financial future are not necessarily the same thing. That realization leads to one of the book's most surprising lessons. Rich Dad tells Robert, "Mind your own business." At first, this sounds like ordinary advice. But he doesn't mean staying out of other people's affairs. He means building your own financial foundation. Most people confuse their profession with their business. If you ask someone what they do, they'll probably answer, "I'm an engineer, I'm a teacher, I'm a doctor, I'm an accountant." Those are professions. Rich Dad says your real business is your asset column. Your job pays today's bills. Your business builds tomorrow's freedom. Imagine two people earning exactly the same salary. The first person spends every paycheck paying bills and buying things that lose value over time. The second person lives below their means and regularly invests part of every paycheck into income-producing assets. For several years, their lives may appear identical, but eventually, one person's income still depends entirely on going to work every morning. The other person's assets begin generating income on their own. That is the difference between having a profession and building a business. Rich Dad never tells readers to quit their jobs immediately. In fact, he encourages people to keep their jobs while quietly building assets in the background. Your salary provides stability. Your assets create independence. As Robert's understanding of money grew, Rich Dad introduced another topic that many people avoid because it sounds complicated: taxes. Most people think taxes are simply something everyone has to pay. Rich Dad doesn't argue against paying taxes. Instead, he argues that financially educated people understand how tax systems work and legally use them to their advantage. He explains that employees usually earn income first and then pay taxes. Businesses, however, are often able to deduct many legitimate business expenses before taxes are calculated. His broader point isn't that everyone should rush to start a corporation. It's that financial education includes understanding the rules of money. The more you understand those rules, the more financial choices you have. Throughout history, people who understood changing financial systems often adapted faster than those who depended on only one source of income. Knowledge creates opportunities. Ignorance creates unnecessary costs. That idea leads to another important lesson. Financial intelligence is one of the greatest assets you can ever build. Many people believe wealth comes from earning a high income. Rich Dad disagrees. He points out that there are doctors, lawyers, athletes, celebrities, and business executives who earn millions of dollars yet still face financial difficulties. Why? Because earning money and managing money are two different skills. Financial intelligence means understanding how money moves. how businesses generate cash flow, how investments grow, how debt can either help or hurt you, how taxes affect wealth, and how risk should be managed rather than feared. Money can disappear, markets can crash, businesses can fail, but knowledge stays with you. A financially educated person can often rebuild wealth because they understand the principles behind creating it. That is why Rich Dad believed learning is one of the highest return investments anyone can make. This brings us to one of the most practical lessons in the entire book. Work to learn, not just to earn. Most people choose a job by asking, how much does it pay? Rich Dad believed there was a better question. What will it teach me? A slightly higher salary may improve your income today, but learning valuable skills can improve your income for the rest of your life. He encouraged Robert to develop a wide range of abilities. Accounting teaches you how to understand financial statements. Sales teaches confidence and communication. Marketing teaches how businesses attract customers. Negotiation helps create better opportunities. Leadership teaches how to build teams instead of doing everything yourself. These are skills that remain valuable regardless of economic conditions. Rich Dad even argues that many technically brilliant people limit their success because they never develop communication and sales skills. The lesson isn't that everyone should become a salesperson. The lesson is that ideas only create value when people can communicate them effectively. As the book continues, Rich Dad explains why many people understand these ideas but never apply them. He identifies several obstacles. The first is fear. Fear of losing money. Fear of making mistakes. Fear of failure. Fear keeps many people from investing, starting businesses, or trying something new. Rich Dad acknowledges that every investment involves risk, but he also reminds readers that avoiding every risk carries its own danger. The greatest financial opportunities often belong to those who prepare carefully and act wisely, not those who wait forever. The second obstacle is cynicism. Some people become so skeptical that they see problems in every opportunity. Healthy caution is important, but constant negativity often prevents action. The third obstacle is laziness. Interestingly, Rich Dad doesn't define laziness as doing nothing. He defines it as staying busy with unimportant activities while avoiding the financial decisions that truly matter. Many people spend hours scrolling through social media, but claim they have no time to read a book about investing or improve their financial knowledge. The fourth obstacle is bad habits. One habit Rich Dad strongly recommends is paying yourself first. Most people receive their salary and immediately pay everyone else. The landlord, the bank, the utility companies, the shopping malls. Whatever remains is saved, if anything remains. Rich Dad recommends reversing that order. Invest in your future first. Build your asset column first. Then manage the remaining expenses responsibly. Finally, he discusses arrogance. The moment people believe they already know everything is often the moment they stop growing. Financial education is not something completed after graduation. It's a lifelong process. One of the most encouraging messages in the book is that financial freedom doesn't require perfection. It requires progress. You don't need to become an expert overnight. You don't need millions of dollars to begin. You simply need to start learning. Read books, study businesses, observe markets, ask questions, learn from people with experience. Start small. Make mistakes. Learn from those mistakes. Then continue improving. According to Rich Dad, successful investors and entrepreneurs are not people who never fail. They are people who refuse to stop learning. As the book approaches its conclusion, Rich Dad asks readers to think about one final question. What is money really for? Many people would answer, to buy a bigger house, a luxury car, expensive vacations, or a comfortable lifestyle. Rich Dad offers a different answer. Money is not the goal. Money is a tool. The real goal is financial freedom. Financial freedom means reaching a point where your assets generate enough income to support your desired lifestyle. At that point, work becomes a choice rather than a necessity. You can continue working because you enjoy what you do, not because missing one paycheck would create a financial crisis. That, according to Rich Dad, is true wealth. Not the size of your salary, not the brand of your car, not the size of your house, but the amount of freedom your money creates. Before ending this summary, it's important to recognize that Rich Dad, Poor Dad is primarily a mindset book. It is designed to change the way readers think about money. It is not a complete guide to investing, taxation, or business. Some financial experts have questioned parts of Robert Kiyosaki's personal stories because some details cannot be independently verified. Others argue that the book simplifies complex financial topics. Those are valid points. No single book can teach everything about personal finance. However, the influence of Rich Dad. Poor Dad is difficult to ignore. It encouraged millions of people to ask questions they had never asked before. What is an asset? Why do I work? Where does my money go? Am I building wealth? Or simply financing a lifestyle? And perhaps that is the book's greatest achievement. It doesn't promise instant riches. It encourages a different way of thinking. If we step back and connect every lesson in this book, one clear message emerges. Don't spend your entire life chasing a paycheck. Build knowledge. Develop valuable skills. Control your spending. Invest in income-producing assets. Continue learning. Make decisions based on long-term freedom instead of short-term comfort. And remember that wealth is not created in a single day. It is built one decision at a time, one investment at a time, one lesson at a time. I'll leave you with one final thought. Imagine two people who start their careers on the same day. They earn the same salary. They work equally hard. One spends almost everything they earn. The other quietly invests a portion of every paycheck into assets that generate income. For the first few years, their lives look almost identical. But 20 years later, their futures may be completely different. Not because one was luckier, not because one was smarter, but because one understood a lesson that changed every financial decision they made. Income pays today's bills. Assets build tomorrow's freedom. And that is the timeless message at the heart of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. If this complete summary helped you understand one of the world's most influential personal finance books, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who wants to become financially smarter. Because the greatest investment you'll ever make isn't in real estate. It isn't in the stock market. It isn't even in a business. It's the investment you make in your own financial education. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.